So thank you very much for joining this webinar today, which is going to be all about top tips to help grow your church income. So today's webinar is going to be delivered by myself, Senior Stewardship Officer for the Diocese, and Beth Vickers. So together we are the stewardship team, and there are contact details if you need to get in touch with us at any time, and we'll give you further support on anything that you see in the webinar. What we're going to be covering today, you can see here, things that you might already know something about, but we're not going to be going into great depth in each of them, but there is going to be a chance, for you to contact us at any time for any further support in any of these subjects. But as we go through, you'll see that there are embedded links in the presentation. The presentation will be available as a PDF on the website on the stewardship pages, so you'll be able to go and look at the presentation afterwards and investigate all the information that's there. So first of all then, we're going to talk about online giving. Now, online giving is something that you might already have for your church. It's a great way to increase income for your church, especially if it's for fundraising. But basically what it is, it's a way that people can give to your church using the internet. And it's a way that people can give to your church without actually coming into the church building itself. So we know that, if you're having a fundraising campaign and you want to reach a wider community, perhaps those people who are not part of your worshipping community, then having an online giving page is a great way to do that. However, it's also a great way to reach people who are coming into your church building as well. I mean, visitors who are coming in perhaps for a life event, such as a wedding or a baptism. Then if you have an online giving page, you have a way of encouraging them to leave a one-off gift. When you set up an online giving page, what you will have is a bespoke QR code, and that QR code, you'll be able to download that QR code and put it onto any of your printed materials, such as service sheets, pew cards, or even posters as well in church. And when people come in to visit the church, they can scan that QR code using their phone, and they will be able to go straight to your online giving page and then leave a one-off donation to you. But also, if you are actually communicating to your worshipping community through digital newsletters or on your Facebook page, you can also have a link to your online giving page. Not always using the QR code if you're sending a digital presentation to people, but by a URL link as well to your online giving page. So we know that we live in an increasingly cashless society, and so having a form of digital giving is a great way to encourage people to give to your campaign to increase your church income. So you might be thinking, oh dear, how do I set up an online giving account? Is it complicated? It's not really that complicated, and there are plenty now resources available for you to look at. There's videos available, there's step-by-step instructions. On the screen here, you can see here, Give to Your Church. There is actually a 10-minute video here, which is on the parish buying website. And when you look at the presentation, you'll be able to click on the image in the PDF version of the slides, and it will take you straight to the video, and you'll be able to listen to guidelines on how you can actually set up an online giving account. There's also on the parish buying website, then there's a link here at the bottom. It will take you to the parish buying website, where when you register for parish buying, you will then be able to get lots of details and step-by-step written instructions of how to set up your online giving account. So there's a video and the step-by-step instructions, and basically what you're going to be doing to set up your online giving account is you'll set up a SumUp account or a Stripe account. And you will also set up a Give a Little account as well. And you can see the little Give a Little icon at the top there. And Give a Little is actually a giving platform. Excuse me. So it's a bit like you might have heard of the Just Giving platform. So Give a Little is a little bit like Just Giving, but Give a Little is a platform that is used by the Church of England, and you can access it through the Parish Buying website. And what's really great about Give a Little is that you will get a very, very favourable transaction rate for every donation that is made to your online giving account. So for instance, with Give a Little, you might pay a 1.95% charge per transaction, whereas if you were with Just Giving, it costs more than that. It's over 2% per transaction. So it's really, really a good idea to set up your online giving account through the Parish Buying website. And what you will also get with the Give a Little account is you will get free premium membership. And that membership is actually subsidised by the Church of England until the end of this year at least. It has actually been subsidised for the last 3 years. And so we're fairly confident that it's going to continue into 2025 as well. And that premium membership will actually give you the gift aid facility. So when anybody makes a donation to your online giving account, they will also have the option to gift aid their donation as well. Now, with platforms such as Just Giving, you do normally have to pay an additional fee to have that gift aid facility. So another reason why, setting up an online giving account through Parish Buying using SumUp and Give a Little is a really good idea. And we know from talking to lots of parishes now that have actually set up online giving accounts that it's really, it's making a difference to their income. So when you've set up your online giving account and your online giving page, you can actually add it as well to a Church Near You page. So you can add it to your own website or your Facebook page, or you can add a Give Now button to your Church Near You page. So a Church Near You, if you haven't heard of it, is the Church of England database. Every Anglican parish, has its own profile page on a Church Near You. So even if you don't have your own website, you do have an online page that you can set up you can promote what you do in your church, but also you can set up your online giving page and advertise it through your Church Near You page. So to be able to do that, to create that Give Now button on your Church Near You page, there is a little step-by-step video that's available that the Church of England made a few years ago. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long. We'll talk you through how to do it. And there's a link here to it. And also, when you go to your Church Near You page, what you'd have to do is you'd have to log in to the editing side of their Church Near You page. And if you don't know how to do that, your incumbent should have the login details so that you can be an editor of your Church Near You page. And then you'll find the menu on the left-hand side here, which when you scroll down, you'll be able to go to the charity donation section, and there is where you can add that Give Now button into your page. And when people click on that, it takes them through to what looks something like this. This is Wortley and Farnley's parishes online giving page, and you can see that you've got set donations there, £5, £10, and also people can choose their own amount as well. So with Give a Little, you can actually create the look of your online giving page and set whatever donation amounts you like. Okay. So again, another form of digital giving, apart from online giving, is contactless giving. So what we're doing with digital giving is we're giving people different options in which to give to your church. And contactless giving is a great way of, actually encouraging people to give to your church when they're in the church building itself. So again, it's great for fundraising. It can also be used for taking payments as well, such as hire of facilities or coming to pay for their wedding, that sort of thing. And there's lots of different ways that you can actually encourage contactless giving. On the screen here, you can see a collect-in. This is a standalone contactless giving device where you can set up your giving page here, and you've got a little card reader, you can just see in the top of that device there, that's only one option that you can actually use. It's a standalone contactless giving device. You might not know what kind of contactless device you want for your church. So one way to find out is to go to the parish buying website again and just complete this short survey to find out what would be the best contactless device option that you could have for your church. It might be that you don't have that much of a footfall in your church, and so investing in maybe a more expensive device like this might not be the best way to go. You might want to go for a cheaper option, and I'll show you those options in a second. But one thing that is really helpful is if you're thinking about investing in a contactless device, but you're not sure how good it's going to be for you in the church, have a look at our digital case studies here. We have a selection of 9 digital case studies, and these are parishes that have got contactless devices, and if you've been using them for a while, they will give you the top tips of how best to use the contactless devices and to get the most out of them. And also, they've got some of them have got online giving pages as well, and they can tell you how exciting it has been for them to use our online giving pages as well. So it's worth having a look at that. Now, something as well that that you might not realise is that when you do have a contactless device and people are using their card, their debit card or their credit card to give to you, it actually counts as cash. So you can still then go on to claim gift aid on that cash that you take in through your contactless device, and you can claim that gift aid through the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme or the GAD scheme. So although your online giving page where people give online to you, that doesn't count as cash. So you've got the option there of claiming gift aid. But with the contactless machine, if the donations given are £30 or under, it will count as cash and you can claim through GADs for the gift aid. But you can also take larger donations than £30 on your contactless device. And with the contactless device as well, you also do have an option to give people the chance to gift aid as well. But what you'd have to do in that circumstance is you download the information again and you claim the gift aid separately. Okay, so if that's a bit complicated, do come back and ask Beth or I for more information about that and we can talk you through it. There's also other resources available. The national team, for instance, in the Church of England, create a newsletter every few months, and there's an example of the summer newsletter here, which you will have a link to when you get the PDF, and you can read through what it's saying in there about contactless giving and the latest developments. Here's some of the options that I was talking about that you can find on parish buying. There's the Collecting More, the Pay As, the GWD contactless devices. These are all a bit more expensive. These are more of the standalone devices. The Collecting is the cheapest one of the 3 there. It's around about £300 to buy the device. And then if you have to think about your connectivity as well. You might have Wi-Fi in the church already and you'll be able to run your Collecting right away. If you don't have Wi-Fi but you have a mobile signal, a strong mobile signal, you would have to pay an extra maybe £60 a year to have a data SIM card that works with the Collecting, and that will allow you to use your contactless device and get connectivity in the church. The same goes for the Pay As station. That works on Wi-Fi and mobile signal as well. The GWD device is the most expensive one. That's more of the sort of £600–700 mark. The beauty of that one is that it can also work without any connectivity. It can store the information in the device, and then you can take the device, download the information where you do have an internet signal, and then you've got all of your donations. You upload that to your bank account. So that, you know, again, the GWD is a good device, but there is a rental charge as well on it, as well as buying it. So it's more of an expensive option. And I would only really suggest that one if you have a lot of footfall coming into the church. The great thing about the Collecting and the Pay As is, again, they work with the Give a Little platform, so you can create the look of the interactive screen in there. And again, as I'm saying, you know, some of them, they're all standalone, but this one, the Collecting, is a portable one, so you can take that outside if you've got an outside event and still use it outside. Pay As Giving Station is a bit heavier, so it's not really a portable device, but it's still a really great one for having inside church. Now, this one on the left here that I haven't mentioned is just a straightforward, simple sum-up card reader. And the card reader actually is used in both the Collecting and the Pay As Giving Station, but you can use it just on its own, and it will only cost you around about £20. So if you don't want to invest in one of these other machines and you just want to try contactless, why not invest in a sum-up card reader and see how you get on with that, what kind of donations that you can actually take through that. Oh. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So what I was going to show you now, when I clicked on the wrong button there, was I was going to take you through to the next slide here, which tells you a little bit more about how you can use that sum-up card reader on its own. And here, the sum-up card reader can be used with the device, such as a tablet, which is 4G enabled, or with your mobile phone as well. And you can download the Give a Little app and put that for free onto your tablet or onto your phone and create this nice giving page here, and then the thank you page after somebody's made a donation. So again, you can use the card reader, £20 to set it up, and then use the Give a Little donations app with your card reader to take your donations, and that's a cheap way of using contactless. So I'm going to hand over to Beth now, and she's going to continue with the rest of the presentation.
Well, hello everybody. So I've got a bit of a squeaky chair. I'm hoping it doesn't come through on the Zoom call, but I'm just going to go through a few other things that we can be using as churches to kind of increase giving, encourage giving, but also encourage our income more generally. So to start with, I'm just going to do a very, very brief overview of the parish giving scheme. And so I may have already spoken to a few of you about this. I know John is probably fed up with me talking about the parish giving scheme, but basically it is a free, regular, planned giving service kind of designed for your church to make giving as easy and more efficient for parishes. This kind of cycle explains a little bit about how it works and how it's unique as opposed to kind of normal giving in the church. So it's all kind of dealt with the parish giving scheme team over in Gloucester, and they kind of help you with receiving donations and claiming gift aid. And so it's kind of a regular cycle every month where your givers can give to your church through a direct debit on the first of the month, and then that goes to the PGS team, who then kind of deal with any gift aid and that kind of sort of things for you on your behalf, and then kind of regularly then send your kind of raw donation of, let's say in this case it's £50 to your account regularly in a month, but also then send a chunk of gift aid every month as well. And so it just kind of helps with your kind of regular giving coming in. And so you help with your financial planning, you know exactly what you're going to be receiving each year, each month. So for your givers, they are able to set this gift up online. So they just can make an account and visit your PGS page, which will be given. It's a bit of like a version of an online giving page, but specifically for PGS. So they can make an account on there and set up a regular gift for your church using that platform. They can also call up the PGS team, who are very lovely, and will set up your gift for you. Or they can kind of use our paper gift form, which is the same kind of form as what they would use online, but they can write it in paper and post it off to the PGS team. So lots of different options. And as I've said before, the gift aid is claimed by the PGS team, and kind of any treasurers here who use PGS will probably be quite grateful for the PGS team for this, because it does save you quite a big job. And again, it does mean that your gift aid is claimed kind of more regularly, as opposed to some parishes where they might kind of wait and do a big gift aid claim once a year, and just means that there's a bit more financial movement in the church. This kind of like penultimate bullet point on the slide is quite an interesting feature of the parish giving scheme. And so your givers have the option to increase their giving annually each year by the rate of inflation. And so this is a completely optional thing, and there's kind of they don't need to do this, and they have to manually tick that box. But it just means that kind of each year their gift will rise slightly by the rate of inflation, meaning that the value of their gift will remain the same instead of kind of decreasing each year. As we are well aware that costs are going up quite considerably each year. And so it's quite handy to have that kind of protection with our giving each year, that it will kind of help the church maintain that cost. And one other thing that we've seen with the PGS is that when people are signing up, they are potentially giving a little bit more, as we're seeing the average weekly gift is £18 and 6 pence, kind of, and that was the most recent statistic that we've received. And this is quite considerably higher than our more general average weekly gift that we're seeing around the diocese, which is about like £13, £14. So generally it could just be that people are using kind of the PGS and joining that as a chance to review their giving. But it's just something to think about. If you are not using the PGS currently, it might be a good thing to have as an option. One thing I haven't mentioned is, as well as kind of regular giving, the PGS also accepts one-off gifts. So kind of similarly to your other online giving options that we've shown you, this is really helpful for kind of visitors and people who might just want to leave kind of a one-off gift and not set up something regular. And there are also very good transaction rates on the one-off rates as well. So that matches the kind of give a little numbers as well. So a good deal for you. And again, another good option. And there's a link down at the bottom of the slide just to find out a little bit more about the PGS. And kind of finding out how to register, how you can promote it, how you can launch your PGS, and just a little bit more information. So if you want to find out more, click on that button at the bottom. But I'll quickly move to the next slide, which should be showing, yes, some feedback on the PGS. So if you may have heard me and Janet speak about the PGS quite a lot and you're a little bit fed up with our voices, you can listen to other people talk about the PGS and why it's working for them in their churches. So I've just done a few kind of snapshots of their videos. I'm sure they love the stills that I've chosen of their faces. And you can use these links when we send out the slides to kind of hear a little bit more about why the PGS is working in our diocese. So there's kind of lots of different points of view. So there's a treasurer and how it works for the treasurer role. More generally in the parish of Caton, they've got a wider stewardship team. So they have a few people taking on different roles. And so Richard has shared how the PGS helps him as part of the stewardship team. But then also in Hemsworth Parish, we've heard from Robert Hart, who is the rector of Hemsworth Parish. And he's kind of talking a little bit about why it helps their parish from kind of his perspective. We also regularly post kind of updates and news about the PGS on the diocese website. And so I've kind of put a bit of a picture here of our recent article that went out showing a bit more about the new resources that we've made and that people can use and customize for their church. So there's a link there as well to our news article on our website. So if you want to kind of just keep a regular eye on them, updates about that, then you'll find them there, as well as on our newsletters that send out as well. We'll talk a bit more about them later. But this is just kind of some more evidence of why PGS works, and you're not just hearing it from us. Can I have the next slide, please, Janet? Okay, now I'm moving a bit away from the PGS, going to think more generally about kind of your annual giving programs and stewardship campaigns. It might be more familiar in that kind of language. But this is just another important thing to include kind of in your yearly church calendar, I'd say, is having a kind of dedicated time to kind of do a bit of an annual review of giving and allowing people in your congregation to think about what they might want to do in terms of their generosity, both in kind of financial giving, but also is a good opportunity to think about giving with times and talents as well. So there's just a bit of an overview here about some of the kind of giving program structures that we have and the resources that we can help you with, and a few different programs designed for different churches at different stages. So I'll quickly just go through all of these now. There's only 4, so I shouldn't be here for too long. But one of the main programs that we will advertise and push each year is the Generosity Week. And so this is just a week-long kind of set of events and activities that you can put on with your church focusing on generosity. It's kind of sandwiched with 2 Sundays so that you can focus the first Sunday on generosity and looking at what that means in your church. But then the next week you can focus on gratitude. So it's your kind of nice short little sandwich of generosity. And that's suitable for all churches. And there are many, many, many resources to help you with kind of planning these services, but also planning your weekly events. So it could be things for children and young people, it could be small group materials, even reaching out to the community. There's kind of all sorts. And that is just a kind of helpful, quickly overview of the Generosity Week for your church. There's also a few other programs that we would recommend if you're thinking of doing a stewardship campaign. Giving in Grace is one that's kind of fully comprehensive. They've got absolutely everything you could think you might need to run a stewardship campaign, including kind of letter templates if you were thinking of maybe reaching out to the community, service plans, all sorts. So that's a great place to start, even if you don't use all the resources. That's kind of got everything you might possibly need. And then these final 2 are kind of looking at 2 different kinds of churches. So you might need to think about which one might suit you best if you're interested. The Simple Giving program is really good for small kind of rural churches. And there's quite a big focus in that program of reaching out to the community to help with supporting whatever you might be doing in your church. And then finally, the parish funding program is kind of more thinking about and trying to discern and hear kind of God's vision for your church. So maybe if you're in a bit of a new place, you might have a new vicar, a new incumbent in your church. It might be good to kind of start with this one, and you can kind of calm down a little bit and have a settle moment and think about what God might be calling your church to be doing in the next few years. And then once you've kind of had that discernment process, it's then thinking, okay, how do we then fund this vision? And that's the kind of angle that that giving program is looking at. So when these slides go out, if you click on kind of any of these pictures, it will link you to the resources. So definitely have a look through them. And kind of alongside giving programs, it's really helpful to also do a bit of an annual giving review. And so there's quite, again, a few options of what you could do depending on kind of how in depth you want to look at your kind of giving and finances. So there's a few that you can just kind of run with the PCC kind of more regularly that are kind of like a tick box exercise, just seeing what you might already have in place and looking at things that you might want to include. And these are kind of based around improving your mechanisms. So doing what we've already suggested, like having an online giving page and contactless giving and just kind of ticking those boxes off. But as well as kind of thinking, oh, have we had a sermon on giving recently? Have we had a small group kind of series about giving, and just thinking about those kind of things. And then there's a kind of more in-depth PCC exercise, which is the Generous Church Review, which is this picture with the kind of field at the top. And that is kind of like a bit more of an exercise with questions and reflection of kind of what your church could be doing. So that's kind of looking quite deeply into the church life, but also looking a bit ahead and seeing what more things could be introduced into the church. So there are kind of 2 different types of reviews that you could do. I've also included a picture of the return of parish finances kind of dashboard that you get from filling in your return of parish finances each year. And so you can also access these. to kind of look more generally at kind of the last, I think it goes up to 10 years of your parish finances. So you can see where things might be improving, where things might need looking at and addressing. You can have a look at kind of how many grants you're getting in, your legacies, how your givers are giving each month and how that's increasing each year, or maybe not increasing each year. But these can be really helpful to kind of provide a bit of a backdrop of the finances kind of alongside these giving reviews. And these you can kind of lead yourself. All the resources are online, but also Janet and I are able to come and kind of assist these conversations as well. So that's just something to think about, but definitely good thing to complete each year. And the next section we're going to look at is grants. So kind of moving away now from looking at kind of giving in the church, other kind of streams of income is grants. And I'm sure some of you with your building projects and other things that might be happening in your churches have been looking at grants and thinking about where you might be able to find them. So this is just a bit of an overview of the places that we would recommend you looking at first. So there's a kind of PDF document of a list of charitable grants for churches. It's very, very comprehensive. There are many, many, many grants to look through, and they're kind of all broken up, you can see, into kind of different topics. So if you're doing kind of a building project, you'd look at kind of some of the first few sections in that list. But then if you're thinking of kind of your environmental projects and community outreach, they're all kind of separated, so you can look at them, you can find the right ones. And then kind of as well as the kind of PDF document, we also have a online grants database. So you will need to register to use that, but it's completely free to register. And then that just gives you access to searching for lots of grants, and there's kind of new grants being added in all the time. So it's constantly changing and the things are being added in. So it's definitely worth kind of constantly being looking at that and seeing what grants are available. It's quite clever in that you can save a search. So if you know you're going to keep kind of wanting to save, you want to keep searching for a certain type of building project, you can save that search and get alerts, so it can alert you with any new grants that might be available that you might be interested in. And it's very clever. I'm going to talk a bit more about that database in the next slide, but just before we move on to that, I just wanted to also say that there's kind of more general fundraising support out there. So there's this kind of step-by-step guidance on the Church of England website, which helps you think more kind of strategically about fundraising for quite a large capital project. So things like setting up a fundraising team, approaching funders, and kind of how you might write a good application, but also thinking about a kind of fundraising plan and knowing how much money you need to get from certain places, and then before you kind of get to your more community-based fundraising. So that's a really good document to read through before starting any big projects. I've also linked at the top, we've got a grants and fundraising page on our website, and that's kind of being updated as and when new grants, we become aware of new grants. So definitely keep an eye on that page as well. But I'm just now going to talk a little bit more about the funding portal. So as I've said, it's completely free to register for this. We kind of use this portal in conjunction with the Diocese of Manchester and Chester. So there's kind of more regional grant options as well as more national ones. And you can use them, for parishes. It's free to use, and there's free training available. So if you were to register now, today, then you'll see some information on some training they're going to be doing over the next kind of in July, but also some further ones in October, looking at kind of a demonstration of the portal and how you can use it well. They also can link you with Matthew Godfrey, who is kind of in charge of looking after this portal, and he can book in with you like a quick 30-minute session just to help show you how everything works. But as well as a kind of demonstration of the portal, I think in October, there's a link to this somewhere. In October, there's a session on kind of how to write an effective application as well. So kind of keep your eye on the training options here as well. And then I'm just going to highlight a few of our kind of diocese grant options that we have for you as well. So you definitely, well, hopefully will have heard about this already. This is our Diocese of Leeds Church Buildings Grants, and this has been going on for the last few years. And we have 3 kind of funding rounds each year. And this is kind of funding available for all of the parishes in the Diocese of Leeds. And this is funding for church building works, so that's repairs and improvements. And more recently, it's kind of got a bit more of an angle of supporting improving buildings for mission. So we've had a bit of extra funding put into this grant opportunity that's specifically funding buildings for mission. And so we're regularly having kind of applications in for this. Our next deadline is actually the end of this month. So if you were interested and wanted to kind of find out a bit more, then do be in touch soon, as the next deadline is fast approaching. But if you're thinking, oh, we don't want to rush too quickly, there is one happening in the autumn in October. So just keep an eye out for that as well. But the grants available kind of range from about £2,000 or maybe just, smaller than that, but also up to 10,000, depending on a few different factors. So things like your project cost, your church deprivation, also the kind of missional aspect of your church as well, and what this building project would do for your church mission. But there is a lot more information in the pack. So there was a link on that previous slide, but just have a look through the pack there as well. And the next grant option that we just want to highlight is Give to Go Green. And this is a kind of more interactive grant. So it's not just receiving money. There's a little bit of work you guys would need to do as well. But this is a match funding grant option to support your carbon cutting building projects. So these are kind of small, quick wins helping your church to reduce carbon, taken from the Practical Pathway to Net Zero, which is a really handy document. If you haven't looked at that, I would recommend having a look through it. But the match funding, well, they will match fund any funding, any donations taken through digital giving. So that's kind of, you're thinking online giving and contactless giving through a 6-week targeted campaign. So you'll be fundraising in the community for 6 weeks, and then whatever you raise during that time will be matched by the Church of England, all in support of your carbon cutting projects. And so the deadline for this round is the end of July. So I think it's Sunday, the 28th of July. If you're interested, then again, there is information and an application pack linked in the slides. And then you'll be pleased to know we're on the final top tip. And this is just a bit about legacy giving and giving in memory. It's a bit of a difficult topic to bring up in church. I'm also just aware, I've just had a notification saying my internet connection is unstable, so bear with me if I cut out. I'm hoping I will be able to push through. But yeah, just to finish, legacy giving. These are often a bit of a lifeline for parishes. This kind of injection of funding is really helpful for kind of starting a new project that you might not have been able to afford before, or maybe just keeping up with what you're doing in your churches already. They're often restricted. And so one thing that we really want to push is having a legacy policy in place. And this just kind of encourages anyone who might be wanting to give a legacy to your church, it encourages them to give it more generally to the works of the church, as opposed to something that might not always be suitable in your church. And maybe if they wanted to give for like organ repairs, but if your church roof is falling, then you might need to use the money for that as well. And so there's just a lot of resources to help you out there with that. So there is a guide for writing a legacy policy and a bit of a template which you can use. But also more generally in talking about legacies to your congregation, it can be a bit tricky. And so we've kind of put together this calendar of ideas for anyone who might want to be talking to your congregation about legacies, just a little kind of drip feed of that conversation to make it a little bit less difficult to talk about. But also I've kind of, in the middle of this slide here, we've got some pictures of faith will and fair will. And these are kind of two will writing services. Faith will especially is definitely worth looking at, as the Church of England has linked with Christian Aid. And so through faith will, your givers can give both to your church but also to Christian Aid with a gift in their will. And so it's a really helpful collaboration to kind of think about your local church but also your global church community and how you could be supporting them in the future. And there are many resources kind of related to that as well, with having a kind of faithful moment, which is when you might have a time in your church to kind of think more deeply about legacy giving. But also they have speakers who can come and speak to your church about faith will and about legacy giving, which is a really helpful resource as well. But yes, do have a little explore through all of the links on this page as well. But that is it for the kind of top tips. I just wanted to end with saying that we are here to support you in kind of a few different ways. We do regular webinars of different things. So obviously this time we've done about top tips. Previously, we've done webinars on kind of digital giving and PGS. So just keep an eye out for that. And we also do one-to-one support, so that can be online or in person. And we will also welcome to come to your PCC meetings to talk through anything that you might find helpful. I've kind of put in brackets about Money for Mission. This is our monthly newsletter that we send out with any updates that we have on any training, on any good grant options that we've found recently, but also any updates kind of more generally about finances and treasury stuff. So do keep an eye out for that. That comes out in eNews Plus. So if you want to find out more, then do be in touch and we can send you some links. But that is all. Should we open up for questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks very much to everybody that's joined the webinar today. We hope that you've enjoyed it and that the information has been useful. Do get in touch with us if you want further information. Thank you.